It's finally time for the grand tour of Element 6. As you can imagine, I've been waiting for this moment for a very long time. And I'm really going to enjoy explaining all of this to you in detail. And I know a lot of you have been waiting for this moment, so it is very exciting. Now, first of all, I think the most difficult thing with E6 is the fact that it is unfinished. And there is no way that I can show you our final vision for this case. Being able to show you this case complete with the carbon fiber perfected, with all of the beautiful billet alloy parts anodized, maybe we could have them anodized in gold, some of the parts polished to a mirror. This thing would just look like the most high-end thing on the planet, and then an extremely high-end liquid-cooled system inside with dual loops and just tube everywhere. Carbon fiber shroud, that's what this is for here, would be all the way through here, just covering up all of the mess and coming right up to the edge of the motherboard. It acts as reinforcing for the loops, so the loops come up underneath, they actually connect to the shroud, and you have 4 holes here, so the loops are fully symmetrical. They come in, they both come in like that, and then they both go back through the middle. And if I were actually able to show you that final vision, I think it would be a very different matter, because I've found that it's very difficult for people to kind of realize something like that. But I will do my best to explain it to you. Right now, the shell seems like a completely just separate, very separate from the case, which, it literally is, but it wouldn't be if the case were complete. The shell is actually very integral, and it's connected to the case with a major feature, actually one of my favorite features of the case, which is a beautiful machined scissor hinge. It's actually quite large. These are the holes for it here, but it's very complex looking, and it kind of, when the shell's open, it covers this entire area here. There'll be a button on the front, and of course, even right down to the button, the power button, will all be developed by Singularity Computers. But just here underneath, kind of in a little bit of a secret place where only the owner will know, you'll press a button and it will open a latch, which, we still need to prototype all of this. We have the design, but then the shell will rise on the scissor hinge on gas struts. So it will actually rise slowly and go, all the way up to about 60 degrees. Now the scissor hinge is designed so that it doesn't just hinge in a circle, it actually rises at the same time, and it ends up, right up out here somewhere. That's why it was very important for us to have a scissor hinge, which means that you can work on the build with the press of a button. And, that was a very important feature. You don't have to remove the shell to be able to work on the system, and having the shell up on a 60-degree angle like that means that everything is fully accessible and visible on the inside. And then the shroud is easily removable. There is actually a shroud that goes completely over this entire cable area, the power supply area. All of the cables are going to be completely covered up and shrouded in this entire system. The only place that you're going to be able to see them is the 24 pin, where it just wraps around this corner here. And you'll actually notice that under there's some cable management for the 24 pin. And there's going to be a lot more cable management. That's what all of these holes are for. There's actually going to be rotating L pieces that you can rotate around to any angle so that you can run the 24 pin, in curves all underneath the motherboard tray. And, it's going to be hooked onto the back of the motherboard tray, and then it's all going to come out through this section just here. And that's what all of this is for, to tie it up, and then it'll come down there and into the power supply. And then all of this is for the rear I/O cables to manage them, and they drop straight down into a channel underneath the case, and same with these ones. And then they can come out either side, this side or this side, and they basically come out the opposite side to where the front I/O is going to be. And the front I/O, we're still deciding, audio, USB 3.1, just something like that, just a couple of connections which are going to be hidden down well underneath the case. And by the way, the case will be a lot higher than it is now, so there'll be plenty of room for airflow underneath. But yeah, the cable management, considering that the rear I/O is internal, was something that we really had to put a lot of time and thought into. And even though we went to all of this effort here, we still shrouded it. But yeah, this shroud that fits in here is actually connected to the shell. So it all goes up at the same time. But then this big shroud in here is obviously going to remain when the shell goes up. But right now, if the case was finished, I would certainly be working on all of this and building into it with the shell on and just up. So, I mean, where do we start here? We have on each end 2 120mm fan mounts, which are purely to pull hot air out of the case through the front and rear grills. And some of this we are still working on the positioning of, and it's going to be tweaked. That's what this build is for. This is a prototyping build. This is part of product development. We have to build into this case to find any potential issues. And when we do product development together, I'm sharing this with all of you. It means that we can all come up with ideas and be a part of the development. And this is really how I want to do my future product development. I might be being a little bit too idealistic, but I would absolutely love to do it this way if you guys will allow it and be involved. So we have the dual reservoir mounts here, and actually the maximum reservoir size that you can fit here is a Singularity Computers Protium medium, 200mm, but that will also allow for a D5 pump. So pump top and pump cover in a pump and res combo configuration. So the reservoir mounts are included with the case. They are a built-in feature, as you can see. Right now, they're only plastic, ABS plastic, 3D printed, as a lot of the other parts of the case are, although many of them are also aluminium and have been cut out on our CNC router. So we have the motherboard tray here, which allows for eATX, but you can see there's a lot of room there. So I guess this is something we could look at expanding, but then again, we only have 7 expansion slots and then another half height expansion slot for overhang. So basically 8. We have the 2 560mm radiators underneath, and that's why we have these rails that run all the way through here. Plenty of strength because radiators are quite heavy, mainly when they're full of coolant. But yeah, if you look through, you can see where the radiators and fans are going to fit underneath, and then the whole bottom is totally open for airflow so that the radiator fans can pull air from up underneath and exhaust it out into the top. And yeah, as well as the airflow through the grills, we also have a little bit here because we have tried to match the surface area of the radiators so that the actual inlet and the actual outlet is basically the same surface area, so the same resistance. Yeah, we have the airflow through the 2 grills, back through the bottom, but that will only be a tiny little bit because convection won't really allow for that. I think it will actually pull cold air through there, possibly. And then we have ventilation through the top of the shell as well, through the window in another carbon fiber vent. But yeah, we're about to start building. The power supply goes at this end. I think I've covered everything. Let's get started. So I'm starting to prepare the components for installation, but I mean, this is going to be an interesting build to say the least, because there is still quite a bit I have to do to the case to be able to install the components. Like there's thread inserts and lots of parts missing that will be in the final version. And so it's going to be a bit of a slow build, but because it's a temporary build, you know, we don't have to go absolutely crazy with the quality like I normally do. But anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. We'll take a look at the motherboard and the rest of the parts in the next part of the build log.